Let's take a look at where Spanish is spoken and who is doing the speaking. Spanish, also known as Castellano in Spain, is a world language. It is a useful language for international trade and commerce. Spanish is also used in diplomacy, being one of the 6 official languages of the United Nations. Because of the sheer number of native and second language speakers, Spanish is common in international negotiations. Spanish films are both popular and critically acclaimed, with directors such as Pedro Almodóvar, Guillermo del Toro, Alejandro González Iñárritu, and Alfonso Cuarón, creating award-winning blockbusters. Spanish language films such as Pan's Labyrinth, Amores Perros, and Like Water for Chocolate have been tremendously successful in the global market. The tradition of visual art from Spanish-speaking countries is second to none, with world-class artists ranging from Diego Velázquez to Pablo Picasso creating timeless masterpieces. Likewise, music originating from Spanish-speaking countries is influential worldwide, with musical traditions as broad and deep as the Spanish-speaking world itself. Let's take a look at where Spanish is spoken. Spanish is the second most common language in the world, depending on how you do the counting, and is widely studied as a secondary language in many countries. In the USA, for example, there are currently an estimated 45 million Spanish speakers, including those who speak Spanish as both a primary or secondary language, or slightly more than 10% of the population. The Spanish language originates from Spain and is classified as a Romance language, which means it has its roots in Latin, the language of ancient Rome. Through trade and colonization, the Spanish language moved to the Caribbean. The Spanish language also took root throughout Central America. Colonization and trade made Spanish a standard language throughout South America, although Portuguese is the language of Brazil. And some nations maintain other European languages, such as French Guyana. There are many dialects across the Spanish-speaking world, varying from one region to the next, as you would expect. Spanish is one of the 3 most common languages spoken on the planet. Mandarin Chinese is far and away the most common, with more than 1 billion native speakers. Spanish and English are close, but by most counts, Spanish is the number 2 world language, with close to 400 million native speakers. When you throw in people who have Spanish as a second language, you're looking at roughly 500 million Spanish speakers worldwide. Mastering a second language will open many doors for you. By speaking both English and Spanish, you will find that you are able to communicate with many of the people you encounter, no matter where you are on planet Earth. The odds are high someone will speak some English or some Spanish. You are learning a language that is common in trade and diplomacy, influential in the arts, and the second most commonly spoken language in the world. Welcome to Spanish, or maybe we should say, bienvenido al español. Let's take a look at some of the aspects of everyday life in Spanish-speaking cultures, which may be a little different from the day-to-day routines to which you're accustomed. The plaza is central in most Spanish culture cities, often serving as a meeting place, market, and parade ground. A plaza mayor would usually incorporate a cathedral, government offices, and the legal courts. In newer cities, plazas are incorporated as a design element purely for social, commercial, and cultural use. The plaza is the focal point in smaller towns, a center of social and political life. In addition to a plaza mayor, there are hundreds of smaller plazas in larger cities such as Madrid or Buenos Aires. They serve as a place to meet, stroll, have a coffee or a drink. They are often lined with terrazas or outdoor cafes and listen to music. Plazas are also often the sites of events such as political protests or manifestations. Supermarkets are not as prevalent in Spanish-speaking nations as they are in the USA, and they are less frequented. They may be non-existent in smaller towns. Daily food shopping typically takes place at the mercados, or markets, which can be indoor or outdoor. Every kind of food imaginable can be purchased at the mercado, and freshness is considered very important. The morning meal, el desayuno, is the smallest of the day and may consist of nothing more than a cup of strong coffee and a roll or pastry. When hotels call something a continental breakfast, this is the sort of meal they mean. Lunch is the main event, and in most Spanish-speaking cultures, everyone takes 2 to 3 hours for this meal. Typically referred to as la comida, the midday meal is the largest and most important, and can involve multiple courses. It's typically eaten between 1 and 3 p.m., and can be followed by la siesta, a time to relax and digest, or even nap, after la comida. In Latin cultures, this nap is a tradition that stretches back centuries. I think we can all agree that closing your eyes for a bit after a big meal is an excellent idea. After la comida and la siesta, dinner isn't served until quite a bit later in the evening, so some Spanish-speaking cultures have snack time, or la merienda. This is especially important for children, who have copious energy and stomachs to match. In Spain, tapas are a popular and unique way of eating or dining. Tapas are served as small plates, often shared, and you'll typically see people enjoying tapas at a bar after work in the evening, often as a social occasion. The final meal of the day is la cena, or dinner. This meal is typically taken between 9 p.m. and midnight, and while more substantial than el desayuno, it's smaller than la comida. La cena is usually a light meal, unless celebrating a special occasion. When we discuss daily life in Spanish-speaking cultures, remember that we are talking about many nations on several continents. Are mercados more common than supermarkets? Yes, absolutely. But US-style supermarkets are making inroads in many Latin American cities. Likewise, la comida and la siesta are traditions with a deep history. But as business goes global, some corporations are limiting the midday break to a more manageable lunch hour. That said, a nap after a big meal is very sensible, and we can only hope globalization will bring the siesta to the rest of civilization, rather than eliminating it for Spanish speakers. Holidays and festivals play an important role in Spanish-speaking cultures. Unlike the English and American traditions, which accommodate a variety of Protestant, Catholic, Jewish, and non-Abrahamic faiths, most Spanish-speaking nations are majority Catholic. Some even have Catholicism enshrined as the national religion. The festivals and holidays reflect this dominance. As in most cultures, Christmas, or la Navidad, is celebrated with family, feasting, and in some nations, parades. Navidad traditions vary widely from one Spanish-speaking country to the next. Santa Claus is a Northern European tradition, but there's a jolly figure who gives out gifts or heralds the season, who can go by Papá Noel, San Nicolás, o Viejito Pascuero. The Epiphany, on January 6th, or El Día de Reyes, is celebrated all over Latin America and the Caribbean, commemorating the three wise men and the revelation of the divinity of baby Jesus. In Spain, children often receive gifts from the three kings on the Feast of the Epiphany rather than Christmas. In Puerto Rico, children fill a box with grass or hay and put it underneath their bed for El Día de Reyes. The wise men take the fodder for their camels and leave gifts under the bed as a reward. Valentine's Day, or El Día de San Valentín, is commonly celebrated throughout Latin America and Spain, but less so and somewhat differently than in the USA. Carnaval denotes the festivals and parades that are held the week before Lent. Main events usually take place in February. The closest analogy in the USA would be Mardi Gras. All carnavales combine some elements of the circus with masks, elaborate costumes, parades, and public street parties. Semana Santa is Holy Week, beginning with Palm Sunday, Domingo de Ramos, continuing through Good Friday, Viernes Santo, and concluding with Holy Saturday, Sábado Santo. Semana Santa culminates with Easter, known as Pascua, or Domingo de la Resurrección. Asunción, or the Assumption of Mary, is held on or around the 15th of August. and is by far one of the busiest days in Spain and Latin America. Asunción is the principal feast day of the Virgin Mother. El Día de los Muertos, or the Day of the Dead, focuses on gatherings to pray for and remember family and friends who have died. El Día de los Muertos is typically celebrated from November 1st to November 2nd in Mexico, but some Spanish cultures begin the celebration on October 31st. These celebrations, which are the result of a combination of Catholic, Spanish, and indigenous traditions, involve elaborate costumes and decorations based on the theme of death, particularly skeletons. Las calaveras, which are colorfully decorated sugar skulls, are very popular. La Feria de las Flores, or the Flower Festival, is an 8-day celebration held in Medellín, Colombia, featuring equestrian parades, antique cars, shows, and concluding with the flower parade. Held in Pamplona, Spain, El Festival de San Fermín, or San Fermines, in July is one of the most iconic celebrations in the world due to one aspect: the running of the bulls, in which brave, or foolish, people run ahead of a herd of angry 1,000-pound bulls. Injuries are common, as one would expect. The Festival de San Fermín features prominently in Ernest Hemingway's The Sun Also Rises. Since John the Baptist is the patron saint of San Juan, Puerto Rico, La Fiesta de San Juan Bautista is a major event in that city. One tradition is to walk backwards into the ocean and fall in 12 times at midnight. Since most Latin American and Caribbean American countries began as colonies, Independence Days are exactly as important as July 4th is to the United States. Argentina celebrates its Día de la Independencia on July 9th, for which the famous Avenida 9 de Julio in Buenos Aires is named. Argentina also celebrates the Revolución de Mayo on the week of May 18th. Fiestas Patrias, or national parties, are held in Chile on September 18th. Mexican Independence Day, or El Grito de Dolores, is celebrated September 16th. Colombia gets two celebrations: July 20th, when independence was declared, and August 7th, marking the Battle of Boyacá, regarded as the decisive battle in their War of Independence. One of the most interesting holidays in Latin America, and possibly the world, is El Día del Mar in Bolivia, held yearly on March 23rd. In 1879, Bolivia lost its only ocean coast to Chile in a war, and ever since, they've held the Day of the Sea, an interesting celebration for a landlocked nation. 5 minutes of silence are observed while pre-recorded ocean sounds, including seagulls, are played on public loudspeakers. Bolivian sailors, including graduates from the Bolivian Naval Academy, parade on foot and on a few of Bolivia's littoral boats. A naval parade on Lake Titicaca and a celebration of the sea can only be described as unique for a nation with no coastline. Festivals, carnivals, and holidays serve an important role in any culture. They bring people together to celebrate, worship, commemorate, or mourn. As you can see, Spain and Latin America have a deep and diverse tapestry of traditions to commemorate their holy days, as well as their local and national celebrations. We are going to take a brief overview of socialization and greetings in Spanish-speaking cultures. Personal space can be different from the norms to which English speakers are accustomed. In Spain, for example, personal space is much smaller than what Americans or the British would consider appropriate. If you're used to speaking with someone at arm's length, in Spain you'd be much closer. This can be important. If a Spanish speaker is positioned in a way that feels too close, don't back up. Your body language could be misinterpreted. A handshake is most appropriate in a business setting. A kiss on the cheek, beso, or air kiss is the most common greeting among friends. The number of kisses varies from country to country. For example, 2 in Spain, 1 in Mexico, and so forth. The beso is not really a kiss. Friends touch right cheeks, then left cheeks, making a kissing sound in the air. In general, women kiss women and men kiss women. Men kissing other men depends on the region and the local tradition, but men most often just give a warm hug or handshake. As a rule, if someone attempts to kiss you, go ahead and kiss right back. Refusal to do so could indicate that you're angry or confused or unfamiliar with the custom, even if you're not. Then there's the friend hug, el abrazo. This hug is a standard greeting for males who are friends. Men in most Latin American and Spanish cultures do not kiss, but they may do so, and they may hug without signifying anything other than friendship. While the bro hug has caught on in the United States, the kiss is still quite alien to most Americans. Women may also stroll hand in hand or arm in arm as an act of friendship. Upon meeting someone new for the first time in a social setting, through family or friends, you would typically kiss them on the cheek the same as with those you know. However, in a business or formal setting, a handshake may be more appropriate. As with so many cultural cues, it's best to observe what others are doing and follow suit. Nightlife is very important in Latino culture. Large groups of people will commonly go out for an evening of food and music, dancing and drinking. If you are invited to go out for the evening, don't be surprised if you are one of 10 to 20 people in your group. In Spain and most Latin American cultures, the day is for work and family. Nighttime is for socializing with large groups of friends and acquaintances. Although we've covered some of the things you may find different in the social behaviors of Spanish-speaking countries, you will also find many things that are the same. Friends and family are still friends and family, and the same needs and desires are fundamental to all human interaction. Let's examine some basic cultural similarities and differences between Latin American and Spanish culture. One of the fundamental differences is music, which is no surprise. Every region and culture develops its own musical traditions and styles. Flamenco is the iconic music and dance of Spain. Using a distinct style of singing, guitar playing and clapping, flamenco is a soulful, passionate form of music that is wildly popular all over the world. Point of fact, in Japan, flamenco is so popular that there are more musical academies devoted to the form than there are in Spain. Flamenco is also a style of dance, which features emotional intensity and bold movements of arms and legs. Rhythmic stamping and clapping are commonly used by the dancers. Mariachi is the best-known form of Mexican folk music. Although it began as a rural form, as mariachi became more urban and widespread, it took elements of polka and waltz and developed the distinctive costumes that we expect from mariachi bands. Tejano music is a style that developed in Texas and incorporates influences from country music, rhythm and blues, and many Latin American musical styles. One of the most famous Tejano musicians was Selena, the best-selling Latin artist of the 1990s. The tango originated in Buenos Aires, Argentina, amongst the immigrant and working class. Like flamenco, the tango is both a dance and a music. The musical style has been a cross-cultural hit, with both popular and classical music using elements of tango. Salsa is most often said to be of both Puerto Rican and Cuban origin, with the big salsa band sound originating in New York's Puerto Rican neighborhoods. Most of the biggest salsa musicians and singers are either from Puerto Rico or are of Puerto Rican descent. Tito Puente, Willie Colon, Celia Cruz, known as the Queen of Salsa, Héctor Lavoe, and more recently, Marc Anthony. El reggaeton, which first became popular in Puerto Rico and broke through worldwide in the 2000s, can most easily be thought of as Latin American reggae, blending Jamaican dancehall music with Latin hip-hop, electronica, and other Latin music styles. Reggaeton is extremely popular. As you would expect, most Spanish-speaking regions feature distinct cuisines based on local produce and traditions. Sangria is a Spanish form of wine punch that involves chopped fruit, brandy, and a sweetener, as well as Spain's outstanding red wine. Paella is a rice dish that originates from Spain, Valencia to be exact, which can include vegetables, olive oil, and most importantly, saffron. The meat can be chicken and/or chorizo, but paella is most commonly made with seafood of various types: shrimp, calamares, mussels, and so forth. Tapas are small portions or plates of food, often shared, usually served at a tapas bar. Tapas are a unique way of eating and dining. Tapas may be served cold or hot, and the ingredients are limited only by the chef's imagination. In Central America, small dishes similar to tapas are sometimes called bocas. Mole is so popular that by most estimates, 99% of Mexicans have eaten some version of it. Mole is a catch-all term for a number of Mexican sauces, as well as the dishes that feature them. The form which most Americans are familiar with is what Mexicans call mole poblano, the dark brown sauce which contains chocolate and a variety of spices. Mole can be quite spicy. Argentinians love their meat, especially in the form of asado, which is considered the national dish. Asado means barbecued meat, and it can be cooked in any number of ways. Asado is also popular in Uruguay, Chile, and Paraguay. For those who like their meat and potatoes, there's hornado from Ecuador, which consists of meat and potatoes. Admittedly, the meat is a whole roast pig, and the potatoes are yapingacho pancakes, but still, it's meat and potatoes. El Salvador favors the pupusa, a thick tortilla filled with any number of things, including cheese, meat, and fried pork rinds. The jibarito sandwich originates in Puerto Rico and is made with fried plantains instead of bread. All Spanish-speaking cultures are serious about their food and about their music. Wherever Latin culture has taken root, you can expect these two things to be constant. Whether you are listening to flamenco while you eat tapas, or tapping your foot to reggaeton while snacking on a jibarito, you can expect the food and the music to be flavorful and intense.